Alright YouTube, in this video we are going to see how to create a auto savable text box. What do I mean by that? When these things happen mainly in WordPress. That means when you type something on a text box, the data get automatically stored in database. If you see, I have typed yes and there is a div which says data saved. That means when you click on a database, its data is saved, and if you want to modify, you can modify it, and the data will be saved at a certain period of time. Okay, now if you see the database, you see the data has modified accordingly. We, what do you the same way, whenever I type the new data, the data get reflected on the database, which is with the help of AJAX. Here in this video we are going to use HTML's Bootstrap form, AJAX, jQuery and PHP MySQL. So let me first show you the database. I'm going to create a database. We have already a database. We are going to create a table for that. The table is tbl underscore data and the column should be 3. The first one is post underscore id, which would be auto incremented value. It means it would be a primary key for this table. Fine. The second thing is we need a post title, which would be varchar of length, let's say 1000. The third one would be post description, which would also be varchar, and the description would be 1000. Let's go and save it. And the next thing is we need a bootstrap form. Our database is test and we have a table called tbl underscore data. Fine. We need two files, which is index.php and fetch.php. First we will create it from scratch. We need a bootstrap form, so get it from the w source. Just copy the code, get the cdn. I have copied it and I'm going to paste it, and we are going to modify it as project title, and the second one would be project description. And you have to change the name and ID accordingly. Let it be on small case. Project underscore, it is title, which we are going to use for the ID as well. Name project description, DESC. The same, we are going to use it for the ID. We don't need the checkbox and the button because it is going to save automatically. We need a text area. So you got it right. Just copy paste the code which shows, and we need the name and ID for the tag so that we can access it from PHP. Yes, we have placeholder and that's fine. If you want, you can see it on a browser. Before that, I'm going to change the form action or else it won't work. Please note this. JavaScript colon void, I'm passing the parameter as 0. I'm saying that when I click on a button, it should not get into any other PHP file or some server side files. Instead, it should do nothing. That's the reason why I have specified JavaScript colon void. let's see, and that's fine. Now it's time for the jQuery part. Before that, I have already shown you that the data saved div would show up. For that, what you have to do is you have to add a div, let me say id equal to auto save, and that's cool. Now it's time for jQuery. Since we are using the Bootstrap template of W3 School, it already has the jQuery CDN, so you don't have to externally use the jQuery CDN. So let's test it. Document dot ready function. Let's type hello. It won't work without alert. It's a string. If the page refresh, if I refresh the page, I want it to show up. That means our jQuery is working. And yes, it showed it right. Now you have to understand the logic first. I'm going to get the value on the text field. How I'm going to do it? Dollar use its ID. The first one is post underscore title dot val. This will get the value of the text box desc and store it in a variable. You can give your own name. For my convenience, I'm giving the same name which I have given for the name and ID of the input field. Fine. Now I'm going to execute a function. It's going to repeat it. That means I'm going to set a interval in which the form is going to keep on continuously calling with the help of set interval. It's a camel case. The first parameter is function and the second parameter is the time frame. On 2 seconds I want the alert to show up and say hello. Let's see, for every 2 seconds you will receive a hello with the help of set interval function. Fine. And I don't want the alert to show up. Instead I want to auto save. For that, I'm going to call a function called auto save. Now you will say, where is the auto save function? We have not defined it yet. Yes, we are going to define it. That function is what going to save our values. AUTOSAVE. So fine. I hope now we will get the title and description from the input field. Now it's time to place them to the fetch.php so that I can send them to the database. For that, I need to check whether the title is not equal to nothing and description is not equal to nothing. If it has some value, I want it to send the data to database through AJAX. So a comment is always a better choice. Don't mind if I have a spelling mistake, we don't have time for that. So now it's the AJAX call. The first one would be URL, that means the page we are going to send our data, and the method type. The third one, the data we are going to send, and the fourth one, data type we are going to send, and the fifth one is if the message sends successfully, what it should do. It should execute it will execute a function, and we are going to manipulate the function. That seems okay. The first one, the URL would be fetch.php, which we should enclose it on the double quotes. The second one is post. The third one is the data, which would be title, description, and one more thing called ID. This is really important, which I will later explain why I have used ID. And I'm going to use another input field which would be hidden. Input type equal to, so it will not show up. The ID would be project ID. Please note I have used project, not post. And the name would be project ID. So in place of post, we would be using project. And we need another value, project ID. So the value are stored appropriately and are ready to be sent to the fetch.php. For time being, I'm just going to use a single letter. For title it's T, for description is T, and for ID is I. Fine. The data type would be text. And simply alert ensures our data sent. So I'm going to write a simple insert int. So that I send the data, we ensure that our data is properly saved on database. Database name is test. Insert into tbl underscore data. The first one would be tbl underscore, it's not tbl. We have a post ID, post title, and post description. Post underscore title. The second one would be description. So now with the help of post, we are going to send the value from index.php to fetch.php. So I was here. Just copy paste it. We are going to pass only the two value. The first one is title. sorry, we have just a single letter called T and just a single letter called D. Sorry, we don't need if statement. If I execute, I want error to show up. It's fetched. Get the source code in the description. You say MySQL close. That means we have missed a semicolon. The username is root and the password is nothing. Now it should work. Fine. That means our code is going to execute fine. Now we are going to understand the complex part of this video. So in return we are going to get the value, and this value we are going to pass to the input hidden field, which is project. It is this one, project ID, and going to populate the value with the help of the data we are going to get. MySQL insert ID. What it will show which ID is executed. Just copy it and paste it. So we are going to echo this. It would say which ID was last executed. Fine. If the project ID is not blank, we want a updation part, else we want insertion part. We'll write our updation code here. Only one time we are going to insert, rest of the time we are going to update. So that is the reason we are writing the updation code over here. The same, we don't need the if statement. We are just interested in executing the query. So update table name and the ID, post title and the value. Post description and the value. Where our post ID going to be the same ID. Let's see whether if there is an error. Localhost, it's very line number 15, again a semicolon is missing. There seems to be fine. It shows 0 because we have not inserted any value. Fine. Now if there is some data, that is data is not equal to blank, then execute, else we don't need else part. Now if there is an insertion, you have to specify on the autosave ID that data is saved. Dollar dot text, which would say data saved successfully. So after a certain time, I want to remove the same text. For that, again write a set interval. Let's say 1 second. It should be inside function or else it won't work, because the set interval gets the first parameter as function. Let's check the code. Type something. Let's check I have done everything right. So what it basically do is, it is going to get all the 3 values and store it into 3 different variable, and we are using Ajax to pass those variable to the fetch.php, and before that it will check the hidden field. If the hidden field is not empty, then we are going to perform the updation part. If the hidden field is empty, we are going to perform the insertion part. So when doing insertion part, we are passing a echo to the success function. This success function gets populated, and so our ID gets its value, and so the loop gets keep on going. Let's check. Actually, it should alert the data so that we can understand that our data stored successfully. Let's see, after 5 seconds there should be an alert. If there is no alert, you should see Ajax has gone wrong. Yep, on line 49. Simply there is an if function. Why we have written if? We have to check. I don't think it is. Yes, that seems fine. Populate it. It shows an error. That means we have error in fetch.php on line number 11. So this is it. It says we have an error on line number 11. Let's check what it is. There seems to be no error. We'll check again. We have a problem in the database. We have not clicked the auto increment value. I'm going to modify the table. We have to click on the structure. and click on the relevant page and click on the relevant column and click on change. Now we have to add the auto increment checkbox. Just click. Before that, close this. Incorrect table definition. There will be no default since this is a primary key. It says there is an error. Simply we will drop the table and create it from scratch. I'm going to create it and I'm going to pause it.